another individual again. I must be getting over.
Who have you been talking to?
I was going to say the same thing. How many individuals have given you these dodgy...
Somebody said there's no loyal customers anymore. It's over. It's all about the shiny. It just depends on people touching that button because they think that, they can get it from you. There's no loyalty anymore in terms of relationships, particularly in terms of customer-supplier type relationships.
I'm still a loyal customer to certain things.
Yeah.
Unless they do something.
So if you see a jacket or coat that you like,
yeah,
and it's not, say, at Marks and Spencer, you're a loyal customer of Marks and Spencer. You've always bought at Marks and Spencer.
I'm loyal to causes than brands.
Yeah. To causes than brands.
So I wouldn't buy from Marks and Spencers anyway.
Okay, say a high street shop.
Yeah,
but now you've seen it on the TikTok shop. Would you buy that?
That's the thing. I don't even use TikTok.
Okay,
that's the problem.
So we're generalizing.
I get it.
Generalizing as a business principle.
Yeah.
Because the point that the individual said is customers are not loyal anymore. That's the point.
But I think that analogy works with certain things and not. For me, we won't work with clothes because I don't have a brand loyalty with clothes. Whatever I like, I just buy anyway. So there's no particular brand that I'm loyal to or a particular shop that sells a brand of any kind. But what I am loyal to, for example, is where do I go and buy my meat? Now, unless they cock something up big time, I won't stop buying meat from there because I've always found it to be good quality. Might not be the cheapest, but it's good quality. Do you know what I mean? It's like finding a barber sometimes. When you go to... I don't anymore, but when I used to go to barbers, if you got a good one, you keep going.
So there's certain things like, for example, the barbers or or certain things that you're used to. But what I'm talking generalized in terms of customers, TikTok shops, and all of these high street shopping that's online now. That's the biggest trend out there. But shopping online, that people are all about the value and the product. It's not necessarily where they get that from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think loyalty, good old-fashioned loyalty, is becoming a thing of the past. And exactly as you mentioned, like
it'd be limited as well.
Yeah, whatever I want to buy, it's just like I don't want to go to the supermarket or the shops I used to go to and walk around the aisles and pick up the thing. I just want to go onto Amazon, find the item, whatever one suits me, just buy it. Job done. Loyalty, for me personally, loyalty is out the window.
So
it's
loyalty,
convenience.
So there's no loyal customer base, or less and less. If you've got the right product, the right sort of specification, right price,
that'd be fair.
It's a free for all.
Yeah, that'd be a fair assessment.
Yeah, because it's not, yes, we might be particular about our barbers and maybe the optician and certain things, but in terms of everything else, it's a commodity now.
But we are missing a trick by not being loyal to certain. Like even from a community perspective, maybe, I don't know.
But let's talk from a business perspective. Say, as business owners, you've got the whole lot of opportunities now to a certain level.
Yeah, from a consumer point of view, I just want convenience.
So if you think about, say, for example, these food apps, it's not necessarily the brand behind that. It's about where you rank and how you rank and so forth. And if you could potentially be in a position where you're getting business, not because of your name. Would you say that's the case there? It's just a matter of how you rank and where you are.
I think it might add some value. Like if Boss Pizza, I've been there, I've had quality food from them before. I know it's reliable. But if a new or 10 other shops are on that list of stores on Just Eat, for example, but I recognize Boss Pizza because it's a recognized brand, I know I'll play it safe. So that could have an effect. It might not be the only factor that plays into my decision, but it could be the past experiences, because they've been positive, that could have an effect.
So let's talk a little bit about, again, we've touched on this, but because we are a people business here. We talk about skills, we talk about sort of development and so forth there. And, you're professional individuals, both of you. And this is a slow, steady answer because I want to talk about your own growth and your own changes and so forth. Ajmal, I keep hearing from you the fact that, you've been there, you've done it, you've tried and tested and so forth, and you're using a formula that's tried and tested, it's working. Mm-hmm. There's no need for change. Right. But, this is a question, it's not. Okay. So, and I'm talking about in terms of, how we stay relevant. You're obviously relevant, you're doing really well, you've got a vision and so forth. How and this is not necessarily even about yourself personally, but I'm talking about leadership and development. Yeah. We talked about peer support. We talked about, lifelong learning to a certain level in terms of growth plans and training. And you talked about, the external courses. It's good to do that. So what's your thoughts generally in terms of lifelong learning at this moment in time? It's not your, I would assume it's not going to a university to do an MBA course. I would assume that for yourself. What is lifelong learning for you?
Very simple. I consider myself an amateur when it comes to business, even though I've been in business for half my life. I think there is just so much knowledge out there. And I think for anyone in any endeavour who thinks they know it all, that's a bad move. So I've got a very open mind. I'm just all about learning, reading books, going on courses, just gaining as much knowledge as I can. I consider myself an amateur still.
Okay. So lifelong learning, continuous improvement, continuous development. How do you do that, Majid, for yourself?
It's not an easy question to answer. First of all, you have to make the admission that there is more to learn. You have to be in that frame of mind that you don't know everything. Secondly, you need to have then the desire to follow that up with action, to learn methods of learning. How that will be, it'll be different for different people. I'm an audio-visual learner. I like to watch videos. I like to listen to things. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I like to get my hands dirty with stuff. So whatever it is I have an interest in, I'd get involved with. You can never stop learning. You will always learn, even when you don't want to. It's involuntary. You learn things involuntarily. So it's always going to be a part of growth, whether it's through growth of age, or growth of experience, or growth of knowledge, whatever it is, involuntarily we are always learning. So our bodies are learning something new, our mind's learning something new. We're always learning something new about ourselves, never mind other people. So there is no choice that you're going to have to learn. But the question is, what do you do with the learning? That's what the real question is. What do you do with your learning?
Okay, well, still a little bit more on this if I can. So you got learning taking place through structured formal programs. So you got your courses, you've got your qualifications, you've got sometimes online, sometimes you've got in person. So there's a structured formal process of learning. There's learning through learning from others, whether that's podcasts, TikTok, YouTube videos, those sort of media channels. There's learning in terms of just actively reading other things that are happening, whether it's magazines or sort of even business programs and so forth. And then there's learning through sort of support mechanisms, sitting down and actually talking about things. Out of that, where do you get most of your gains from a personal perspective, you could say? Yeah.
Easy. TikTok.
TikTok you think is the best place for you at the moment?
TikTok and YouTube. TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah. Podcast, do you listen to many podcasts?
I prefer listening to the shorter clips on YouTube Shorts or TikTok.
Okay. Imagine.
Yeah, I do a lot of my learning from YouTube, and possibly attending gatherings and events. Yeah.
Listening to keynote speakers, seminars, webinars.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But a lot of my learning is done on YouTube. When I find something that I'm fascinated about, I will go all geek mode.
Yeah.
I'm diving deep inside to get insights.
TikTok is great for high level, but for the deep dive, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, yeah.
Okay, so mindset predominantly approach, generally TikTok is good for that, or would you say more than that?
Mindset, no. I don't look at anyone for mindset. And we were going to talk about this manifestation and visualization.
Let's talk about it now. I think
I think that's nonsense. Mindset is like either you want to do it, bloody do it, or don't do it. There's no, for me, it's black or white.
Right. Okay. So when you're talking to people about their sort of behaviors, their approach, and their attitude, well, obviously you got your knowledge, you got some skills, then you got your behaviors, which is a mindset.
Yep.
If you were to put them on a level, what would you rank first, second, and maybe last? Knowledge, skills, or behaviors?
Knowledge, skills, or behaviors?
I'd say behaviors.
Behaviors first. You recruit on behavior first.
I think attitude. If you've got the right attitude, then comes the aptitude. Then
it's the aptitude.
Skill will question, isn't it?
Yeah.
than the altitude.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the behavior is going to be top of the agenda for me. I know passionate people who have outperformed knowledgeable, skillful people because they were so much more passionate and had the drive to do it.
I agree. The one thing I look for when I'm recruiting for senior positions is attitude. That's probably the most important thing I look for.
A TikTok thing, and I'll say this is a predominantly TikTok thing. People talk about embracing failure. You know, failure is not a bad thing. Failure is first attempt in learning, and all these sort of busy things and so forth, or whatever the case is. And you said it earlier on. You know, entrepreneurship, the word, they've made it sexy. Failure is another word, or failing. You know, I failed in this. Used to be not so, openly spoken about, or not so sexy. But now people talk about, I failed in this, and I've done this, and I've done that, and so forth. And what's your take on failure and failing? And
I think failure is a part of the journey of entrepreneurship, and anyone who says otherwise is not telling the truth. And I think it's so refreshing to hear when someone has failed, and that might sound perverse. I've got a guy that's working for me. He phoned me up. He didn't sell me his skills. He says, I built a 40-branch network and it failed. And I was like, I want to recruit you because you've made mistakes that I have yet to make. And just that admission was so refreshing.
Yeah, it's humbling,
Had he got on the phone to me and said, oh, I'm great at XYZ, I would be 50-50. But I love the honesty.
Yeah.
But failure is a huge part of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. But do you think that it's overinflated in terms of people talk about failure, in terms of it's a good thing, but not necessarily talk about how you mitigate? Because that's a favourite word of yours, Majid. Mitigate. How do you mitigate failure? How do you actually get into a position where it's not failure in the big sense, it's small failure. It's like small trips rather than a big fall.
Look, you're always going to get some dumbasses out there, right? So people are going to be intrigued and fascinated by someone else's failure. Some people are going to be celebrating their failure to be a part of a crowd, to look cool. Oh, look, see, that speaker out there or that entrepreneur there talks about how he failed his way to success. Look at me, I failed as well. Might not be successful yet, but I'm failing, right? So it's for that way, it might look sexy, but it doesn't mean anything, right? It's horses for courses. Different people like different things. Different people's personalities and demeanors will bring different things out of them. So, yeah, it is what it is, isn't it?
Another one that somebody said to me. so somebody said to me, and I'll add my own.
Somebody is his conscience. It's his own conscience.
Somebody said to me, it's hard to stand out in this world unless you're zany, and I'll put my own twist on this. Unless you're zany, maybe have a Scottish accent and a nice smile. It's hard to stand out. So Ajmal, you take that one. It's hard to stand out unless you're a bit mad or zany or a bit extroverted or so forth, and unless you're standing out.
Zany, did you say zany?
Zany, yeah. Is that a word? I don't know whether it's a word yet.
It might be a youth word, you youngsters use nowadays. But zany, I was thinking you
not in the zany,
Urdu Punjabi
no, zany, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Consistency wins the day. See, when everyone starts out hot. Everyone runs out the blocks at 100 miles an hour. But then consistency wins the day. Too many people sprint out the blocks and then they give up after 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And the guys that remain consistent, they end up winning the day. And that's why I say consistency is king. Post 30, 40, 50 bits of content a day and do it day in, day out. And after a few months, you'll see a massive impact on your business.
Okay. Impact, because that is a question. I'm going to come back to your good self on that one in terms of standing out and doing zany things and so forth. There is an impact point, which is another one, which is everybody talks about. You've heard the term turnover is vanity, profit is sanity,
yep.
And then there's an add-on to that, which is cash flow is king, but there's another one which is impact is a main thing. It's about making a difference, making an impact. So how important should that be in business? Should it be all about profit and loss? Should it be all about making the money? Is it about the difference? You talked about values in the organization, the chain of the food chain. Talk about impact in business.
You've got to land the brand with an impact. Impact is so big. I'll give you an example. We're going to do our first franchise exhibition in April 2025. We are going to land the brand like with such an amazing force and so much impact. We've hired out the biggest stall, the biggest stand at the International Franchise Exhibition. We've sponsored the main cafeteria area. Our brand is going to be the most prominent brand at the International Franchise Exhibition. So I'm a huge fan of impact. And when you're landing a brand or you're starting out, you have got to let the world know that you are serious about what you're doing.
Okay. So impact in terms of making a noise, impact in terms of visibility, in terms of presence out there, you rate that quite high.
Very high. And then you've got to back it up. You've got to have the foundation underneath. You can't just be out making a lot of noise without the foundation. You've got to have a solid foundation, which can then help grow the business.
And then sustain that, hopefully, yeah. Okay. So this zany thing that we spoke about. So, the fact that shiny, the fact that you've got to stand out. The market is there's a lot more people in this market, new up and coming people, a lot of podcasts, a lot of books out there. If you think about books, everybody's an author, everybody's a podcaster, everybody's a TikTok star and so forth, and whatever the case is. How do you stay relevant? Really, that's the word for me.
Let me flip that question back to you, because you've known me for a number of years. I've always gone against the grain in the way I dress. Networking events, I don't wear a tie. I'll wear these granddad shirts. I'm that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm that guy who doesn't want to be following the crowd or following the sheep.
Yeah.
What have you noticed from your observations?
There's a thing that Ajmal has said, which is about consistency, definitely about consistency, but it's also about authenticity. Yeah, it's about people can see, if I can use the word bullshitter, they can see somebody who is just fake.
Yeah,
people can spot that. Yeah, they can spot somebody's authentic, and it's not the top layer level. You and I, we've done a long form content now. We've done long form. You can learn some of these things, but the test is, when you're actually having these longer conversations, everybody can do the elevator pitch. Elevator pitch is there,
60 seconds,
but it's the rest of it. And that's where people fail. That's where you feel, actually, what, that doesn't make sense. This doesn't really work. They're not talking from experience here. They're talking from...
Have we passed or failed the test here?
They're not talking from experience here.
He's not answered the question.
They're just talking from that. Authenticity is the word.
Okay.
Authenticity. People can see that. I think people can spot somebody who is not authentic, maybe who's fake. I'll use the word fake, bullshitter. I'll use the word bullshitter because you've used a few words, and I thought, I might as well join you. And we can cut if we need to. But I'm sure we'll leave it as it is. We're not going to cut anything here. But that authenticity, and I think a lot of that is about trust as well. You talked about trust. Trust isn't just about honesty, integrity. It's about is this person have they got the credibility? Can I trust this person to do the job? Have they got the experience? Have they got the knowledge? Have they got the way and means to say that I can trust them? So it's a bit more than that. I think trust is the key thing here. Cool. So can I throw that back at you and try and get you to answer the question?
You didn't really answer my question. How did you answer the Being different is a good thing. Look, I always say this to people. God has created us in very unique ways.
Yeah.
In unique way. Even identical twins have their differences.
Yeah.
This is how unique we are. Yeah. You have billions of people who have lived on this face of the earth and gone, but they never share the same fingerprint. That's how unique we are. Yeah. Embrace your uniqueness. Yeah. Why try to be like somebody else when you've been deliberately created to be unique? I'll just leave that there.
So we've had a fairly lengthy conversation today, and talked about quite a few things. And most of this has been, all of it has been off the cuff, really. It's not been prescribed. We've not come in and said, we're going to talk about this. Yes, we've had a fairly lengthy conversation there. I've learned many things from your good selves. There's a lot of nuggets, which, I've seen on your TikTok videos, Ajmal. A lot of your podcasts that I've heard. But I think the fact that a three-way conversation today has been very, very beneficial. So I'm going to ask both of you in your own time to sort of summarize in terms of any sort of messages for our audience, anything for ourselves, Imagine there is no audience. It's just us.
Yeah.
And we're having
That's
a
not hard to
conversation.
imagine,
It's
is
not
it?
hard. It is us. It is us. There is no audience.
Yeah.
Any thoughts from you, from our friend first?
I've really enjoyed the deep dive. It wasn't just a superficial business conversation. We did drill down into the business topics quite deep, and that was very good. So I really enjoyed that.
Okay. Majid, any sort of final words of wisdom and knowledge and so forth? And
I think, I think we probably covered a lot here in the conversation. The only thing I would say is if this is from the spin of entrepreneurship or being a business owner, again, it's something that was mentioned earlier, but not trying is your first failure of not succeeding. Not attempting is your failure. Is your failure to and not succeeding. I think you'll always have naysayers. You'll always have people who would doubt concepts. Sometimes they're not on your wavelength. But one of the biggest things that I sadly see is bright, intelligent, capable people not doing well because they bought into other people's BS and they didn't just give it a try. So just give it a try.
Let me bring Ajmal back in on this because I think that's about ambition, isn't it? Is that about ambition? Is about expectations? When you say not trying, is it about the fact that
confidence?
It's about confidence.
Yeah, it's confident. Look, even simple things like doing a podcast, being on a camera, public speaking. These are things that people will probably do for the first time.
You can have lack of confidence, but still have ambition. You can be.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. But having the confidence to take the step to execute the plan that we were talking about earlier, that requires some self-confidence.
Okay. Have you always been this ambitious, Ajmal?
Yes. And it goes back to my childhood. Have I always been this ambitious? The answer is yes. And I've only realised this in the last 2 years where that ambition came from. It came from my childhood because you and I are in the same boat. Majid is still a young pup.
Yeah.
We were brought up with nothing.
Yeah.
Right? There was nothing. There was no toys. There was no branded goods. There was no holidays.
Yeah.
We were always the guys, Majid. We were always the guys looking out at the other kids. They had all the cool stuff, and we had nothing.
I went through the same thing.
I've never met Safaraz, and I can say that confidently because I know we were all in the same boat, all immigrants. And see, when you're brought up with nothing, that gives you the hunger. So that's where my ambition has come from. What about yourself?
I mean, I to be honest with you, probably less ambitious at the start because, I had a little bit of expectation management. So my ambition was to get a steady job. Yeah, it wasn't about entrepreneurship. It wasn't about going out there and smashing it or conquering the world. Yes, we've got an immigration mindset, but that actually pulled me back a little bit to say the world is your oyster because there was no real benchmarks. I never had, we never had sort of entrepreneurs in our family. We never had a family business. Father was a labourer, and it's about slow, steady income. And just not lifestyle business, but just be blessed the fact that you've got that and the consistency of that. And fairly late in my years, I started looking at what else is there, because there's an element of, is this it? I can do more. But that came very late for me when I'm sort of nearly in my 40s.
And what triggered that move towards the betterment? What triggered that? What got you going?
It wasn't at that time money. It was about growth, personal growth.
Right.
And it's about if you've got to be in a position where you think, what, this is a bit boring now. This is a bit repetitive now. Is this all it is? Is this going to be that? Is this it now? And I think there was no challenge, and I didn't feel I was being challenged in the role that I was. In the corporate market, banking and financial services was my arena, and I thought to myself, this isn't really going anywhere. And initially for me, my challenge, the first opportunity was for me to volunteer. I thought I've got to add some value to my CV. My general approach is I'm introverted anyway, so I wasn't going out there making big noises within the corporate environment. So I thought to myself, what? How do I become more interesting as a person? How do I become in a position where I've got something to talk about apart from my day job? And for me, that was volunteering.
Okay.
And when I went and did some volunteering at the local college, you opened up that, there's opportunities here. You opened up the fact that, there's people who are, who are embracing and nurturing those opportunities and grabbing those opportunities, and I can do a bit more. Open up my eyes, and that, there isn't a glass ceiling here. Yes, I felt that there might have been in my work, but I thought, what, I can go and do it on my own. That was my thing.
Right.
Yeah. So it wasn't about necessarily materialistic at the time. Yeah, because I think you can do quite well even in a corporate environment. You've had a blue collar, I keep saying blue collar, but blue chip organization, Accenture, you were working with, and so forth. And we've all sort of to a certain level worked in a corporate type environment. You can be successful. That definition of success in a corporate environment. But it's about really, challenging yourself. And having those challenges. And it is in entrepreneurship, even if you don't like that word, in business that you get the challenge, the real challenge. Yeah. Majid, I'll say Majid as a sort of finishing off, because we've got to go back to our normal sort of dialogue and lingo.
Saf, it's all good, bro. I think you smashed it, bro. It was you know what? It was a great conversation, because we have these kinds of conversations in shorts, small segments. So it's good to have a collective together and go deep dive and explore that thinking and challenge that thinking, because we don't always agree with things, but that's okay. It's just a difference of opinion, isn't it? And that's okay as well. That's where you learn the maturity of and etiquettes of disagreement. And that's something us business owners need to get good at. The etiquettes of disagreement. You might not agree, but doesn't mean you're my enemy anymore. You know what I mean? So it's different. There are technical differences, there are legal differences, and this can be challenged, but when they've just got a difference of opinion, it's difference of opinion. But no, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. One last question for Ajmal. That's a final question there.
So,
Domino's, what have they done to you? You're so adamant to lock around.
They haven't done anything. It's just, I think I just want to build a business where the franchisee wins, they're not paying heavy royalty. The customer wins, they're paying less for their pizza, they're paying less for a good quality pizza, and the business wins because we'll end up with lots of branches across the UK. So I'm just creating this nice little business where it's win, 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 everyone's happy. Okay. That's the driver.
And I'll speak on behalf of Majid as well. And I think we wish you good luck in your journey. All the best. I know you're very ambitious. You've got target there. You're an expert in business. Even though we're all learning and developing and so forth. And I can see you doing it and smashing it, as they say. So
one step at a time.
One step. But thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Canny Conversation Podcast Series 5 by Safaraz Ali.